Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to jump into today's topic with you. If you've ever wondered how humanity managed to solve one of its oldest, most basic economic problems, well, you are in the perfect place. Today, we're tracing the evolution of value. We're going on this incredible journey from the ancient days of bartering all the way up to the genius invention of money as we know it today. Okay, let's dive right in. I want you to picture a world with absolutely zero cash. No credit cards, and definitely no digital wallets on your phone. So how did exchange take place before money? Like, how did you actually get your hands on the stuff you needed to survive if you couldn't just hand over a $5 bill? It's such a fundamental question, and the answer really sets the stage for everything we're going to cover today. To answer that, here is our roadmap. We'll start with life before money. Then look at the flaws of the barter system. From there, we'll see how money became the ultimate solution, explore the strange history of currency, and finally, track the evolution from coins to paper. Section 1, Life Before Money, or as I like to call it, the classroom economy. Before we get into all these complex historical trade networks, let's just look at a super relatable analogy. Trading a book for a book is a classic example of what people did long before coins existed. They just traded goods directly. Imagine you have a jungle adventure book you just finished, and a friend has a mystery story you're dying to read. You just swap them. This simple, direct exchange is really the bedrock of ancient economics. And that brings us to the barter system. Basically, it's a way of exchanging goods and services without using any money. It was literally the absolute earliest form of exchange, and we find evidence of it in communities all over the globe. Whether it was kids swapping extra erasers for pencils in a classroom or ancient merchants trading salt for cloth, this system was just how daily business got done. But here's where things start to get, well, incredibly complicated. Imagine you're this farmer. You need a bunch of different things, right? You need a new pair of shoes, maybe a warm sweater, and some medicine for your grandmother. But the only thing of value you actually have to spare is a massive live ox. How on earth do you exchange a giant ox for all those different, smaller items from a bunch of different people? Section 2, the flaws of the barter system and why that ox just doesn't work. So, let's diagnose exactly what made the barter system so frustrating for early economies. The first major flaw is this fancy economic concept called the double coincidence of wants. It's a situation where two people each have exactly what the other person wants. Think about our farmer's dilemma for a second. How rare is it to find someone who desperately needs a whole ox and just happens to have the exact pair of shoes you want in your exact size? I mean, lining up those stars is practically impossible. But let's say you miraculously find that person. You immediately hit the next wall, the lack of a common standard measure of value. Ask yourself, how do you even begin to calculate how many sweaters or bags of wheat an entire ox is actually worth? Without a shared, agreed-upon standard, every single trade turns into this long, exhausting negotiation where someone is probably going to walk away feeling like they got a raw deal. Then you hit two more essential economic tests: divisibility and portability. And guess what? Our farmer's ox completely fails both of them. Divisibility just means you can split something into smaller parts. Obviously, you can't safely chop a live ox into tiny fractions just to buy a sweater. And portability? Good luck dragging a heavy, stubborn ox from town to town just to do your grocery shopping. Which leads us to another huge flaw: durability. Let's imagine you solved the divisibility problem by trading your ox for a massive mountain of wheat. Great, right? Well, not really. You can't store that wheat forever. Eventually, it's going to rot or get eaten by rats. Your hard-earned wealth literally vanishes right in front of you over time. But you know what's crazy? Despite all these massive flaws, the practice of bartering hasn't completely vanished. Check out the Jumbil Mela in Assam, India. It's this incredible annual fair where the barter system is totally alive and well today. Communities gather just like they have since the 15th century, successfully swapping roots, herbs, and spices from the hills for rice cakes and fish from the plains. It's this beautiful, fully functioning exception to the rule. Section 3. Money, the ultimate solution, and really the hero of the economy. Now, for the vast majority of the world, we needed a permanent fix. And I want you to stop thinking of money just as cash in your wallet and start looking at it as an ingenious technological invention designed specifically to solve our poor farmer's nightmare. First, money acts as a long-term store of value, so no more rats eating your wealth. Second, it gives us a common denomination, so everybody instantly knows the exact price of an ox versus a sweater. Third, it is highly divisible, meaning you can easily get exact change for small stuff. And finally, it's incredibly portable. It just slides right into your pocket. It instantly solves durability, measure, divisibility, and portability, all at the same time. Section 4. The strange history of currency. Because it wasn't always just coins and paper. Once humanity collectively realized that money was really just a shared agreement, we started using some wildly surprising objects as currency. Take a look at this. This is the Aztec copper tajadero, used as money in central Mexico and parts of Central America. The word actually translates to chopping knife. And what's super interesting here is how early forms of money often physically looked like useful tools. It was a way to bridge that psychological gap between a useful barter item and a standardized unit of currency. So the big takeaway here is this. Money is literally whatever a community collectively agrees it is. Just look at these massive rye stones from Yap Island. These giant rock discs are incredibly heavy and practically unmovable. They totally fail the portability test. But because the island community deeply respected them and agreed on their worth, they successfully functioned as money for major transactions. Absolutely fascinating. Or how about this one? Tavo. These are gorgeous, delicate coils made entirely from redbird feathers. It really reminds us that early on, money was often deeply tied to rare, naturally occurring materials. Since they were incredibly difficult to acquire, it inherently restricted the supply and protected their value. Section 5. From coins to paper, a story of evolving convenience. Eventually, as societies grew and trade expanded, money had to standardize. And as metal coins became the universal standard, they left a huge cultural mark. For example, the ancient Indian word for coin was panna. What's amazing is that variations of that exact same word are still used for money today. In Tamil, Telugu, and Malayalam, it's panam, and in Canada, it's hana. These ancient Indian coins were minted from precise alloys of silver and copper and beautifully engraved with nature motifs or deities like the Varaha avatar of Vishnu. Now, here's a quick question for you. Archaeologists actually found coins embossed with the heads of Roman kings during excavations in Pudukottai, Tamil Nadu, over in India. What does that tell us? Just think about it for a second. It proves that long before airplanes or modern shipping lanes, standardized metal money powered these vast, ancient global trade networks. Roman currency was so widely trusted it was being used thousands of miles away from Rome. But of course, as economies kept growing, people wanted to buy entire plots of land or fund massive trade expeditions. Suddenly, coins became the problem. They were just too heavy to carry and too hard to store safely in massive quantities. Hauling giant sacks of metal basically recreated the old problem of trying to drag an ox across town. So the paper revolution began. Paper money was invented simply as a lightweight, super convenient placeholder for that heavy metal. All of this evolutionary history really brings weight to a quote from the brilliant 20th century economist John Maynard Keynes. He said, "The importance of money flows from it being a link between the present and the future." I mean, that perfectly sums up everything we've talked about today. Money is this reliable, standardized bridge. It lets you sell your ox today and comfortably buy a sweater and some medicine 6 months from now without your wealth disappearing. And honestly, that grand journey of evolution hasn't stopped. Today, we literally just scan a QR code with our phones, exchanging value in a fraction of a second, using invisible digital pixels instead of heavy stones or paper. We've gone from trading live oxen to giant rye stones, to metal coins, to paper bills, and now to digital signals. So I'll leave you with this to chew on. As technology just keeps accelerating, what on earth do you think the next form of money is going to look like? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep observing the world around you, and as always, never stop learning.